Hello and welcome to this edition of Word Wealth. I'm Pastor Ed and we're studying on the subject of beginnings. We looked at the ancient Hebrew term bara, which is found in Genesis 1:1, where it says that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The word bara translates to created. And we can look all through chapter 1 of Genesis and we see bara, the creation. He creates the land and the sea and the fish and the birds, and then ultimately what we're going to study today, our origins. Where do I come from? We're going to answer that question because we're going to look at Genesis chapter 1 verses 26 to 28, and we're going to look and we're going to see a new word today. We're still going to be on the word bara, but we're going to look at another ancient word, and you'll be surprised the meaning of it. Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 says, "And then God said, Let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image, and in the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. And then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Wow. In these verses we read about how the human race began. The Bible plainly teaches us that we are not here by accident, nor are we the product of a chance mixture of chemicals as the theory of evolution would suggest. Each of us has been created in the very image of God, and we are here for a purpose. The genetic code inside of us has been designed by the Creator, the Master Sculptor, God Himself. Now, over in chapter 2, and we're not going to go and read that, but over in chapter 2, we're given a little bit more detail. Although God formed man out of the dust of the ground, as we read in verse 7, and He breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, God did not create man to be alone. In verse 23, we read that God created the woman out of man. So man was created first, and then woman was taken out of man. At the very beginning of time, God created the institution of marriage. Long before the institution of the church was put into place, there was marriage. And this was done so that men and women could have a wondrous, holy, and pure, spiritual, emotional, and even sexual relationship which would reflect the very nature of God. Now, man in this case, as we read in chapter 1 verse 26, is the ancient word Adam. That's right, Adam is translated Adam in English. It was the ancient word Adam in Hebrew. And the Bible teaches us, though, that God made man in His own image, and here Adam is translated as Adam, the individual, or the proper name, about 20 times. But it's also translated Adam as man or mankind or the human race or humanity at large over 500 times. And when referring to the whole human race, the Bible often uses the phrase B'nai, Adam, the children of Adam, which is what that means. As with the English term man, Adam in its general sense has nothing to do with maleness and everything to do with humanness. For example, in one case, Adam refers exclusively to woman. If you can find that over in the book of Numbers, chapter 31, verse 35. And when the Bible talks about man or Adam, it is speaking of both male and female, unless it's calling them by their proper names, Adam and his wife Eve. but both the male and female are both made in the image of God. So, did you realize also, as we read that man was to rule over the earth? You see, in creating man, God made a sovereign choice to delegate to man dominion over the earth. We see that in verse 28. In other words, God gave man stewardship over this entire planet. Man's power and authority for exercising this rule originated in God's intent to make man in his own image and his own likeness. But man's ability to carry out this rulership of the earth rested on his continued obedience to God's rule as king of all things. His power to reign in his life extended only as far as his faithfulness to obey God's law. The original order of man's environment on the earth must be distinguished from what it became following the impact of man's fall, the curse, and the eventual devastation of the earth by the flood. The agricultural, the zoological, the geological, I can't even say the word, geological, and the meteorological disharmony to which creation became subject to must not be attributed to God. The perfect will of God as founding King of creation is not manifested in the presence of death. It's not manifested in disease. It's not manifested in discord and disaster any more than it is manifested in human sin. Our present world does not reflect the kingdom order He originally intended for man's enjoyment of the earth, nor does it reflect God's kingdom as it shall ultimately be experienced on this planet. You see, understanding this, we should be cautious not to attribute to God's will the acts of God, or to the acts of God those characteristics of our world that resulted from the ruin of God's original order by the reason of man's fall. We really messed up. Adam and Eve really messed up. If you think about it, we could all be running around in the garden naked, happy and enjoying life. But now we have to get out and we have to work hard. Our living comes by the sweat of our brow. It's not just provided for us anymore. There's a lot to say about the curse that came upon man and woman at the time. We're not getting into all that. But it is devastating. God created man, both male and female. He said that this was in His own image and according to His likeness. He revealed His own nature as social, and this social aspect of the Godhead is clearly exemplified in marriage. Then God, singular, said, "Let us," plural, "make man in our," plural, image. Many scholars interpret this use of both the singular and the plural as an allusion to the Trinity. One God, yet a community of persons. The community that reflects God's image in man is special community. The community of a man and a woman in marriage is a special community. When God chose to create man in His own image, this necessitated that He create a marriage, a family, due to His own social nature. 3 in 1, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, 2 in 1, husband and wife. Wow. The community of the family is a reflection of the community of the Godhead. Is there any wonder that Satan isn't out to destroy the family structure? Is it any wonder that Satan hasn't whispered in the ears, she burns the toast too much, leave her? Oh, look at that little young thing over there. You need to go chase after him. Is it any wonder that Satan hasn't given us the wandering eye? It's the destruction of the family. God's institution. It's where we came from. And he wants to destroy it. You think about that. And goodbye.